All right. Perfect. Jackie, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of our viewers. Thank you all for this redo. I think yesterday we tried to go live. We had a whole bunch of technical issues. We're at it again today. We look like we're in good shape. So I'm excited to get this going. Jackie, welcome. How are you today? Oh, the connection is just a little spotty, but I think we can manage. All right, everyone. I hope everyone's ready for, I think this is the third or fourth uh, edition of these Marketing 101s. Felicity, hi from Dublin. Hi from Virginia. Tom, how you doing today? Sandra from California. How is everyone doing today? Thank you all for joining. Leave us a comment where you're from. Just a couple notes before we start. This is a live Q&A. Any of your questions, drop them in the chat. We'll take them on immediately. Anything else that you may have for questions, for comments, for thoughts, if you have any marketing questions, if you have any Builderall related questions, whatever it is, drop them in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them. If you are new here, this is what we do on the Marketing 101 sessions. We're going to go through some fundamental marketing ideas and concepts that apply anywhere, whatever platform, whatever it is that you're trying to build. These are this is the language of business that we're teaching you. Okay, so if you're thinking this is only a Builderall focused workshop, it's not. If you're not a Builderall user, this workshop is totally applicable to you. You can take any and all of the information we're going to give and apply it in your business. What we want out of this is for people to become more business savvy. That's our payoff from it. And if you do want to try out Builderall, there's a coupon code that should appear here on your screen. Save 50 will get you 50% off of your first month. And for these Marketing 101s, if you use Marketing 101, you'll get 30% off every month for 3 months, as well as access to our marketing starter kit, which we can go through here immediately. Let's hop in. I'm going to share my screen and we can actually start working through and start talking about all of these things. All right. Before we go, Felicity, you just dropped a question in the comments. Please help me with my dilemma. I'm trying to find the software sales website that you guys did. I think the image was a collage of an image created in Canva. Yes, you are referencing our Template Tuesday workshops that we do. I will wait until Jackie hops back onto the stream and she can share the link to that website. And obviously, we can create something like a template that you can download on your account, and we can have Jackie help us with that once she joins in. So without further ado, I'm sure no one wants to hear me more than they need to. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get going. All right, here we go. And let me know when you guys can see my screen here. Boom, beautiful. Marketing 101, everyone. Understanding effective strategies. And let's dive right in. All right. We're here to understand the fundamentals of marketing. I want everyone to take out their notebooks and we're going to start walking through these concepts. If anything is unclear, just drop a comment in YouTube and I'll be happy to answer it right then and there. Okay. Marketing, advertising, and branding are the three ideas that get really confused for whatever reason, right? A lot of times we see a lot of confusion. What's the difference? Am I, in my marketing or in my advertising, my branding, what's the difference? It's really simple. I don't want you guys to complicate it more than it needs to be. Marketing is the overall strategy that's used to connect with customers. Your entire advertising and your branding and your media presence and where you spend your budget, all of that is marketing. Marketing happens in the brain, right? It's a planning, it's organization. So marketing is the overall strategy. Advertising, whenever we go to promote our product or our service or our offering, we go through different channels, right? So radio, TV, paid search, paid social, we boost a post, we create an event. All of those things are advertising efforts, okay? Anytime you go to spend money to get your message out into the world, that's advertising. Branding is your identity as a business. So when people interact with your business, what do they see? What do you sound like? What's your tone of voice? Are you funny? Are you friendly? Are you business professional? All of those things fall into branding. Obviously, when we say branding, a lot of people think logo and colors in your website. But essentially, what it actually means is all of the different aspects that create that experience around your brand, around your personality. That's what branding is. So a lot of times you're going to, if you engage with a branding agency, for example, the questions that they ask you are things like, what do you sound like? Are you fun? Are you friendly? Are you playful? All of those things fall into branding, and they're, they include your logo and your visual personality, but it includes way more than that. It's not just what people see, it's what people interact with, it's what people hear, it's what all of the different touch points that you have with your customer. Those create your brand. All right, Clarabelle, thanks for hopping in. Nice to see you again. As usual, you don't need me to remind you, but this is a Q&A that is live. Just go ahead and ask any questions that you may have. Let's dig in. The 4 Ps, everyone. Have we all heard of the 4 Ps? Yes, show of hands. Show of hands if we've heard of the 4 Ps. Product, place, price, promotion. These are the foundational building blocks of marketing. Every time you want to say marketing, you want to go through, what is my product? What's the price? Where am I promoting it? And how am I promoting it? When we have, all right, so Sandra saying no to the 4 Ps. All right, beautiful, perfect. Well, that's why we're here. These 4 Ps, this is the foundational idea behind marketing. Under my product, this product idea, I need to understand what my unique value proposition is. What do I offer that's different? What do I offer that makes me special or different? What can I give my customer that makes me different from my competitors? Sometimes it's part of the product, like your product does something special that your competitors don't. But sometimes it's about something additional that you offer that your customer doesn't add, that your competitor doesn't have, excuse me. I'll give you guys an example. There's a footwear brand called Bombas, Bombas. They produce some sort of shoe. It's sort of knit. Their selling proposition is every time you buy one, they donate one to someone in the third world that needs shoes. That's their differentiator. That's their unique selling proposition. Every time you buy one pair, we donate a pair. All right, so that makes them immediately special. They're not giving you something that's a product differentiator, but they're giving you something that differentiates your purchase decision. Right, so that's a really cool idea, just to think about. Your unique value proposition can be part of the product, like your product does something special that your competitor doesn't, and it also can include something that's additional that lets your customer get excited about purchasing your product. Let's move on to price. Am I setting my price point for my product at something comparable? Am I competitive with people in my space? Is obviously, am I profitable? Do I make money selling my product? So there are a lot of pricing strategies. The pricing strategy that I like to just share with people that they might not know is it relates to the customer and what they're willing to pay for your product. All right. So it sort of breaks out of the mold of, a lot of times when we want to offer a product or a service, we say, okay, well, how much is it costing me? And then, you add a, 10, 20, 30% margin on it and you sell it and you call it good. But what if your target audience is ready to pay triple your price and you don't even know it, right? Then you should be pricing your product at triple your price, right? You want to find out what your customer is willing to pay and not what you're willing to charge. Okay? Because a lot of times the customer, especially if you solve a big problem, your customer is willing to pay much more than what you're willing to charge, right? I'll give you guys an example. The person who created the Nike logo probably charged, hundreds of thousands of dollars for it, when in reality the same amount of work could have been done, in quotes, for maybe $10 or $15,000, right? But because this person was able to show the value, right, then they got that extra payment. I have a question on pricing coming in from Fox the Kiwi. How do you know what the client's willing to pay? Do we look at the competitor pricing? If you look at the competitor pricing, you're always going to be tethered to what they're willing to charge, right? So let's say my competitor charges $10 for their gizmo and my gizmo is comparable. I'm going to charge 12, and then they up their price to 15, and then I up my price to 17. I'm still locked in on what they're willing to buy or what my competitor is willing to charge. I want to break out of that mold. The way you find out what the client's willing to pay is one of multiple ways. So one method could be something like a focus group, some sort of research where you bring people in, you sit them around, you get them donuts, some coffee, you sit down with everyone. That's your target audience. And you say, hey, this is my product. These are all the benefits that you get from my product. What are you willing to pay for it? Right? And you might get wildly different responses, and you might be surprised. Someone can say, 3 times or 4 times what you charge right now. And that gives you the sense that this customer is placing a lot of value in your product. So that's one. You can do a focus group. The second is to gradually increase the price as you get sales, right? So especially if you're in the agency field, or you provide a service that takes a lot of your time. Let's say every time you get a client, you up your prices. So let's say I want to get 10 clients by the end of the year and I want to increase my price. My starting price is, let's say, $10,000. Every time I get a customer, I'm going to add $2,000 to my bill. Right? So by the end of it all, I'm charging $20,000. The point you'll see is you'll get less customers, but you'll get higher paying customers, perhaps. Right? Now, if you stop being able to acquire customers like you want to, then that's your sign to come down in the price. So you can start gradually increasing your price until you see that your acquisition slowed down or your sales slowed down. And once they start tapering off, then you can back off. Right? That gives you the chance. Okay, I was charging $10,000. Now I'm charging 15, but I'm not getting new customers. I'm going to come back down to $13,000. Right? Let's say you come back down to $13,000 for your pricing, and all of these are imaginary numbers. And you start seeing clients come back in, then you're golden, right? Then you're at that point where you've fine-tuned what the client's willing to pay and what you wanted to offer, right? Because your price was set before then, and now you're seeing that you're able to move up. If you find that you're getting customers, but you want better quality customers, then you should also increase your price, right? That way you force the target audience to be a higher paying customer. All right. Seems like this topic is getting a lot of questions. Clarabelle, how do you justify price increases for existing clients over time. I have clients for 7 years paying the same price. Oof, what a great question. What a great question. I love answering this question. It's a very uncomfortable question to like really dig into, but this is how great agencies get built over time. All right, is playing this sort of scenario and this strategy. The way you justify increasing prices for your clients over time is one of two ways. First of all, every year you should have a small increase. Whatever it is, even if it's a nominal increase, you should charge extra every year. First of all, it keeps the customer aware that prices go up. Okay? If you keep the customer at the same price for 7 years, like you're giving an example, if you go to right now, 7 years later, you go to up your fees, then it's a conversation. Then people have a problem. Then, well, Clarabelle, we've been working together for 7 years. You haven't made this change. Why now? You know what I mean? Whereas you could have bypassed that whole conversation if you had increased the price just a little bit every year. So even by like $50, whatever, like a small amount that they don't really care about, seeing that price move keeps the client familiar with the fact that this is a financial transaction. Right now, 7 years later, you have a choice to make. Do you up the prices for these clients all of a sudden, risk losing them? Obviously, you need to, you know best for your business, but sometimes losing some clients makes room for new clients and for you to acquire new clients, and that's okay. But if you don't want to lose them and they make a huge fuss, you can say, all right, listen, I'm going to keep the price for 6 months. I'm going to keep you where it is, but in 6 months, this is what it's going to go up to. I'll give you, the 6 months as, leeway, just because we've been working together for the last 7 years, right? So it really needs to be an honest conversation, all right? And sometimes they're going to say, well, that doesn't work for me, Clarabelle, anymore. So I'm going to find someone else. Then you're going to say, well, I'm sorry, you feel that way, but I have an operation to run. I have employees, I have costs, everything else is rising. And, whatever I'm charging you extra actually doesn't even, cover the fees, but I need to up the money. It is what it is, right? Sometimes you're going to lose clients over it. But if you're not ready to do it, then you can draw a line in the sand and say, I don't want to lose these clients. And you just, you take the hit over time, you keep them where they are. I don't recommend that last one, but those are the 3 strategies that I would recommend. Now, just as a final note, the way you justify the price increase, I want you to keep in mind that this is a business transaction. You don't really need to justify it as long as you're still providing value. If they ask you to justify the extra money, well, everything else in the world is getting more expensive. 7 years ago was pre-COVID, it was a different planet. 2018 billing looks a lot different than 2025 billing. And I'm sure your customers who are making money have also increased their pricing, right? Whether they sell services or products. So they understand it. All right, cool. So with that, if you guys have any other questions on price, hopefully I answered all of these questions in a good place. Let's talk about place. Selecting the right distribution channels. This is where I'm gonna place my product up for sale. I'll give you guys an example. If I'm selling a product, am I better off selling this product on my own website, or am I better off displaying it on Amazon, where people can come across it? They're going to be looking at competitors, and they might find me on Amazon, right? So that's a consideration as in terms of the place. A lot of times, finding the right distribution channel is the most essential thing you can do for your business. Okay, whether or not you sell in retail or online only, whether or not you do direct to consumer, whether or not you do a pop-up shop that you have a physical location that just appears in the middle of a downtown area. All of those different strategies really impact your overall business, and they're a foundational marketing principle. I'll give you guys an example. Let's take a product, let's say sunscreen. If I'm selling sunscreen, I would probably, and this is all like an imaginary situation, but I would probably want to be on Amazon before I would want to create my own website. Here's my reasoning. On Amazon, people can find me. I can promote my product directly on Amazon to people who are actively looking for this product. Everything is localized in one place. For Amazon, for example, I can ship Amazon my products and they'll handle fulfillment. Whereas if I had my own website, I need to handle shipping and receiving and fulfillment. I need to handle warehousing and inventory management, all of that jazz, which is a whole pain in the behind. I also need to promote my website so that people can find me online and then go to my website and then make sales. So that means I have to now create a website and all the promotion that needs to go around it. It creates an environment where picking Amazon is the easiest choice for the business. And then if I wanted to create a secondary website, I'm free to do that, right? But this is a perfect example where the place where I'm promoting my product is a foundational thing to think about. And then finally, the last P here is promotion. My communication, or communicating the value I offer through these various channels, like social media, like radio, like flyers, whatever it is. That's where I communicate my product. All right. So I just threw at you, a couple of university level classes in like 10 minutes. Sorry about that if it's a little too much, but I think take a screenshot of this slide. These concepts are super foundational. And if you're looking to promote your business, write down, what is my product? What is my price point? Where am I promoting my product? And how am I promoting my product? If you can answer these questions, you have a strong beginning of the strong beginnings of an awesome marketing strategy. Cool. Jackie, what do you think? You think I can move on? Is that sufficiently explained?
I hope that you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. No, that's excellent. I love the question of Clarabelle because I think it's something that comes up so many times because we tend to be afraid to lose our clients because we think that when we increase the pricing, we're going to lose them. But I have found that the clients, most of the time, especially if you are providing value, they tend to see that you are worth it, and a small percentage doesn't really matter.
Right.
So I think the question comes is if you do not provide that value, they will probably then frown upon it. But I think if you provide the value, I don't think we need to be scared unless you double your pricing, but that would be just right out ridiculous if you do that kind of thing.
Honestly, I'm a fan. Sometimes people undercut their own value.
Yeah.
I've
If
seen
it's
it
been
so many
undercut,
times.
yes.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times. You see this like amazing copywriter. They write. They're brilliant at what they do, but when it comes down to negotiating for price, they always undervalue themselves. Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are
That's
we
true.
thinking about all of these here? AIM Net Wealth is actually talking, bringing up a really interesting point. He said, easy. Does your expenses stay the same for 7 years? Food, utilities, staff, rent, etc. And do not forget about inflation, depreciation of money. All of that comes into play. I completely agree with that. But here's the game we don't want to play with the customer, especially if you're an agency. We never want to play the game of nickel and diming ourselves, right? If my customer is asking me, well, why, justify the price, the justification should be in the value that they're receiving. right? If they say, well, why do you get to charge $20,000 for a website? These are the websites I've built in the past. This is my experience. This is my expertise. I've been doing this for X amount of time. These are my results, most importantly, from the websites. A $20,000 investment in a website with me gets you XYZ and will pay off, in these ways for you. Period. You never get into, I need to buy food. I have utilities, I have staff. Although that's a great way to justify the increase. You can say, well, everything else is getting more expensive and I have to keep up. That's totally fair response. But then for me, this response also, if I say this to a customer and they say, well, your expenses shouldn't affect my bill. You know what I mean? That's your problem. Then we have to really think about how much value we're giving people, right? And whether our customers see the value. Clarabelle also asked, should we notify them in advance before the increase or include it on the agreement? Honestly, I think the best ways to handle this is, next time you're on a call, you're on a, let's say a data readout call or some sort of submission, a weekly check-in, a monthly check-in, whatever it is. Say, hey, by the way, in the upcoming bill, you're going to see a, 5% increase. We have to, up our prices every year, and this is just part of it. Let me know if you have any questions. And that's that. Just have it be part of this casual conversation. If you come in and you're super serious and rigid about it, they're going to get, they're going to kind of back off and get defensive, like, oh, tell me more about it. But if you treat it casually, they're going to treat it casually too, right? Unless it's a big steep increase, then you have to kind of justify it further, but I'm assuming it's a normal, 5-10% increase. Then you just mention it in passing. I don't think you need to make a big deal out of it, right? Aim net wealth. I love this conversation that's happening right now. Inform them ahead of time. Always include a clause in your contract. After 12 months, there's a standard increase if necessary, all exceptional. Okay, sure. I think having it in the contract is totally reasonable. The way I would communicate it to the client is something more friendly, right? I'm treating it more like a familial. Hey, Jackie, by the way, we're having an increase in our pricing. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll forward it to our finance team, and they'll get back to you. Oh, okay. Now they're not surprised. Now they're seeing an increase. Now they're sort of mentally prepared for it. You've primed them that there's going to be an increase. Then they get the invoice. Then they see it. And a lot of times, you downplay it like, hey, it's not a huge deal. Unless, of course, it is. And then you move on. And that's the secret with handling clients. Become friendly with them. Show them that you're on their side throughout your entire relationship. Then something like this is a really easy conversation to have. Okay, but if you treat it like a transaction or a transactional relationship, then something like a price increase breaks down the relationship, right? Think about it like marriage. I've always said this, and back in my agency days, I always said this too. In marriage, and this is based on Dr. Gottman's research, in marriage, every single one negative interaction needs 5 positive interactions to bypass it, to counteract it, right? That's in a long-term relationship between you and your partner. Now, obviously, minus the romance, you and your client, you want a long-term relationship with them, right? So the same rules apply, right? As far as I'm concerned. If every time you have a negative interaction, you need 5 interactions that are positive to counteract them. Just make sure you treat them well. You deliver on your promises. You keep them informed. Any deadlines that you meet, you tell them that you meet. You make promises and then you exceed the promises. All of those, they're basic and foundational to client relationships. But then it's also in your delivery, right? You meet with them frequently. You say, hey, you ask about them. You care about them. You remember things about, where they're going on their trip. Is their spouse or partner? Do they have something interesting happening? All of those, touch on them. Remember your clients, right? They're your friends. They I don't know if they're your friends, actually. Hold on. Asterisk on that. You want to treat them in a friendly manner. You want to care about them. So prepare and kind of pave the way for all of these difficult conversations by having a really strong relationship with that client. All right. That's something that I really want to stress. Never get stuck in a transactional relationship where your value is directly equivalent to what you submit to them for deliverables. Okay, you want to offer more. You want to offer your opinion. You want to offer your insight. You want to give them research. You want to do, some extra things that they become reliant on, and they look at all of the value that you offer as more than just the transaction. Does that make sense? I don't want to lose the point here. Oof, all right. Fox the Kiwi. I'm in a terrible situation. I do not have an agreement. Okay. Only learning all of this now. That's fine. So my few clients just have a verbal agreement. I guess I need to get an agreement in place. Fox the Kiwi. Perfect situation. Thank you so much for answering it. A lot of people start off their business and it's sort of like on a handshake deal. All right. Handshake deal. I personally, I love handshake deals. All right. I love handshake deals. There's no better way to start a relationship by such like a level of trust that we have. Like we just assume we're both good for it. We shake hands and it's all good. Where people hate handshake deals is when things go sideways, right? Things go sideways. Then you need terms and conditions. Then you need contracts. Then you need all of these legalese and issues happen. You need to treat the situation really delicately. All right. And this is I'm thinking out loud right now. How I would approach this is as follows. I would get an agreement drafted that's a general master service agreement. Okay. Called an MSA. You can Google an MSA template. You can then go back to your customers and then I also super casually say, hey, client A, I really value our relationship. I'm also looking to expand and I'm getting a lot of pressure to set some written rules. I have this generic master service agreement. Obviously, we've been working together for the last, insert amount of time here, year, 2 years. I love our relationship. I don't want anything to change. But just so it's fair to everyone else that I'm bringing on, if you can just sign this, I'm going to send you a draft. Look it over. Let me know if you have any questions, and we can make adjustments if need be. But it's just a normal template or a default standard type of agreement. If you can just send it, sign it and send it back, that would be great. Just treat it casually. Keep the focus on the relationship because you don't want the focus to now become, oh well, Fox the Kiwi sending me all this paperwork. Is everything okay? Just make sure you sort of lead off with the fact that your relationship is great, you value them, and you're looking to standardize things, you're looking to scale, you're looking to grow, and you just have some policies that need to be implemented across the board. All right, plain and simple. In net wealth, it's always useful to have proper terms and conditions. Totally agree. Even when they're on a month to month, of course, on your invoice, you can always point to the term. Yes, sure, I totally agree with that. Yes, most business owners will understand that costs do increase over time if they truly value your service, skills, and results. Amen. I completely agree with that. Unless you're doing something crazy, any price addition you're going to have is going to be totally normal. Unless you're quadrupling your price overnight and you sort of want to lose all of these low paying customers, then that's a strategy you can do, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Clarabelle saying they have a very simple agreement that explains what you'll do and how much. Any other details on payments? Usually 50% when we start the program. Yes, 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 yes. All of these are perfectly fine. If it's something like a retainer, look into master service agreements. You want to define the scope of work. You want to define what you're going to be doing, what you're not going to be doing. That's where agencies get stuck, right? What you're not going to be doing, because suddenly, you 1 second you're handling someone's website, and the other second you're editing logos, and then third, you find yourself, I don't know, creating a trade show booth for free. You know what I mean? So don't get stuck doing that. Just make sure to define what you're going to be doing, what you're not going to be doing, so that you can say no when you need to say no. All right, I'm going to move on before we spend the whole session talking about this. I always talk about this quote, one of my favorite quotes: marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. The only correction I would make to this is it's always been about the stories you tell. We love telling stories. People love telling stories. Think about, just go back in time, any time in history, in human civilization, there's almost always been a place where people go and they listen to stories. It was the center of town at some point. It was by the fire, maybe before then. You had the village storyteller, and now you have YouTube. You have all sorts of content online where people go and they listen to stories. I think it's something so foundational to being human, to love telling and listening to stories, right? There's just something super captivating. Think about movies. That's all they are. And if you think about a lot of the big famous movies, they all follow the same theme. Everyone's familiar with the hero's arc. You see the main character, they have a dilemma, the dilemma gets worse, and then they get to a point of challenge, and then they overcome that point, and then they get something great at the end. That type of story, that type of narrative, people are sort of like they're just addicted to it almost. It's just so ingrained to who we are. We love hearing it, and we love telling it, and we're storytellers by design. Okay, so I want you guys to focus on telling that story. Okay, dive in, give people more context, show people what you're doing, tell people where you came from, all of the struggles that you had to go through, where you are today and where you were, all of those things. People love it, love it, love it. Okay, for you to tell the right story, you need to understand who you're talking to. All right, it's gonna affect so many things. It's gonna affect the words you use. It's gonna affect the language you speak. It's gonna affect all sorts of things that uh, that go into your storytelling that are so crucial. So before you get started, think about, who is my target audience? What are their problems? And how do they purchase? What are their buying? What are the buying behaviors? Okay, I'll give you guys an example. Before I tell my story, I have a clear picture of who I'm talking to, who they are. I give them a personality. I create an avatar for them: name, age, what they look like, but more importantly, what they do, what they engage with, what gets them excited. Do they have any hobbies? Do they have any interests? All of those things I'm diving into. I need to become so familiar with my target audience that they need to become my best friend. All right. I need to be able to know everything about them and how they're going to react before I even tell the story. I need to know this just ingrained. Okay. And the way you do that is looking at your metrics, looking at that profile, and really engaging with that profile. What other types of content people engage with? I'll give you guys an example from my agency days. I was doing a target audience analysis for an electronics company, and we found out that like 57 or something percent of all the target audience also like to garden. And that's a weird thing. So they're in tech. I'm looking for, sales engineers, things like that. But they also like gardening. That's something for me to keep in mind in my back pocket. Maybe on my social media content, I throw in like a gardening reference uh, for uh, for my product. It might not make sense to people who aren't in that field, But if you are in that field, if you do happen to like gardening, you're going to engage just like that, because they're going to feel like this customer or this company knows me truly. All right. Kind of a random example. Identifying problems. I need to understand my customer, their pain points, their needs, and I need to see how my product or my service answers for those problems. All right. Does that make sense? I need to make a connection for my customer. Hey, this is the problem you have, and this is the problem I fix. And they're the same thing. You need to engage with me. All right. Really simple. Once you lay it out like this, when we're like in the open, in the wild, then it becomes a little more difficult to properly message and properly communicate. But if you can just keep your eyes focused on, this is my customer, these are their problems, and this is how I solve this problem, that's a crucial way for you to approach marketing and the messaging in a really cool way. And then finally, your buying behavior. You need to understand how my customer makes purchasing decisions, and sometimes who the customer actually is. You have, let's say, the procurement manager at a company. They make all the purchasing decisions, but they don't choose what to buy. All right. A lot of times in big companies, the manager recommends a product, and this recommendation goes to a purchasing manager, and that purchasing manager is the one targeting. If you make a really quick analysis, you're going to think for a second that your purchasing manager is your buyer, but that's not true. There's a manager who's making that decision, recommending. That's your actual buyer. Okay, that's your actual target audience. So I want you guys to really consider who's buying, how are they buying, what frequency, how does the decision come about, right? Is it a one-person interaction, or is it multiple people? How many rounds of presentations am I going to have? All of these come into play, especially when it comes to software or agency, or if you're selling a service of sorts to, let's say, a bigger company. You might have several meetings. You might meet with the manager, and then you might meet with their manager. You might meet with, you end up in a meeting with the CFO. You got to be ready. You got to know all of the patterns that you're dealing with. All right. Does that make sense? I hope it does. End of the day, this can be simplified with a true, deep understanding of who you're talking to. All right. And that's why it's so important. Whenever we say, who's your target audience? If you say everyone, I want you to stop that immediately. Okay. There's no such thing as everyone being your target audience. If you say everyone, then you just haven't done enough research. Okay. So I want to challenge everyone. If you think your target audience is everyone, I want you to stop. I want you to go back to the drawing board and actually look at who's purchasing your products. Okay. Because there's no way it's everyone. It's literally impossible. Okay. Even food. Everyone eats food. But if you're selling a specific food item, then your target audience just immediately gets segmented down. Cool. All right. Let's get into the thick of it here. Basic channels for digital marketing. Okay. Your website, your social media, your email, your paid ads. This is a very quick sort of broad brush on the 4 channels that you probably should have if you're selling your product online. You probably should have a website. You probably should have social media or social media presence. You probably should have email marketing, and you probably should have paid. Although paid, I'll keep this at the end, and we can put a big asterisk here. Before we dig in, Clarabelle, that's where Gemini comes in. It's great doing the research for you on your persona. I'll be honest with you, Clarabelle, I don't know how I feel about this comment. All right. I personally love AI. I never want to hand it over anything that crucial in my business. It's great to have like that conversation with Gemini, but don't let it make the decision for you. All right. It's a computer. You're the business owner. All right. It augments your efforts and not the other way around. I want us to be really, really, really super careful, because we're in such an interesting time in the world where we have something like AI and it can just whip up all sorts of content. We never want to hand it over more than what we're comfortable handing over someone else. So would you make such a crucial decision? Would you let someone else make a crucial decision about your business? If the answer is no, then make it yourself, even if it takes longer to actually generate that result. All right. Oof. Another question from Fox the Kiwi. I love the engagement this session. What about creating communities? Is that not the new thing, like a school community? People are moving away from Facebook into private communities. Am I wrong? Okay. Great question. The creation of a community has always been something people want. Okay. And I want to give you guys an example. Even on Facebook, we had Facebook groups that people can join into, where the access was limited, right? You have to request to join. You have to, let's say, purchase a product, and then they give you access to a Facebook group. Something like a school community is like a new implementation of that, right? You have membership pages, you have Patreon pages, you have all sorts of ways where you create this member page. You can actually create a membership site on Builderall. Just by the way, if you didn't know, that's something that you can do. That's something that's not new, but that's something that's definitely showing back up because school is getting promoted so heavily. People are joining and they're becoming part of these sub communities. I personally love it. We have several WhatsApp groups that are dedicated to specific workshops or specific things that you can do on the Builderall platform. We have locked Facebook groups that you can join. All of those things are available. I wouldn't say it's the new thing, but it's definitely making waves now that school is getting promoted so heavily with Hormozy and all of that. So I hope that answers your question. So it's not a new thing, but it's definitely effective, right? You definitely want to have your people sort of gathered in a way where you can talk to them. Newsletters also are making a resurgence. Newsletters were super popular about 5 years ago. They stopped being as popular. Now I'm seeing them pop back up. So that's something for you guys to keep in mind. Cool. All right. You need a website, social media, email marketing, paid ads. I wouldn't say this is a requirement, but I would say you probably want to consider having all 4 of these channels. But all of it depends on your product. When it comes to a website, so at Builderall, we create our website builder is such an easy tool to build a website. We want to take away the barrier of like, now you have to learn how to code and do all this fancy stuff. None of that is relevant today. But what we do want is for you to consider whether or not a website is right for your business. Okay, let's go back to the some sort of like, let's say I sell a lotion, right? Do I want to create my own website and then promote my website and worry about conversion rate optimization and getting people in and what do they do, all of that good stuff? Or am I better off launching on Amazon, for example, and having Amazon do all of that work for me? I don't need a website if my product can be easily sold on Amazon, for example, right? That's the more efficient, let's say, business decision sometimes. And that's what I want you guys to think about. Okay. Social media today, social media is back in such a strong way. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Everyone's trying to go viral. Everyone's hopping on the trends, right? And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You see all sorts of small local businesses follow along with the trends. They go viral, their business booms, and it's happy days. All right, it's beautiful stuff. What I want you guys to think about when it comes to social media is, then what, right? The question of then what? Someone engages my stuff on social media, they like my page, they follow, then what do I do, right? In our marketing starter kit, we have a link in bio template, we have a comment autoresponder template, and we have a social media auto post tool. All of those different tools help you connect your social media with your website presence. So I want you to go in there and use the Marketing 101 coupon code, get the starter kit, and start using those different assets that we're giving you for free. I'd show you guys, but I think we'd spend days and days. Maybe join us next month and we can get into a demo of sorts. Or Jackie, maybe we can start doing these demos on our Tuesday, Template Tuesday sessions. We can connect our social media auto post tool, show people how it's done. All right, I think that'll be super cool. Finally, what happens when your social media goes viral and people find your website? What happens then, right? You want to set up some sort of form, some offer, some giveaway. You want to collect their information, and you want to use email marketing to nurture that relationship. Keep them coming back. Even if they don't buy today, give them something to download for free so that you have their contact information, they're engaged with you, and you can nurture that customer over and over again and keep bringing them back to your site, right? The more you give them value, the more they're going to engage with you. The more they engage with you, the more conversions you're going to get from your email marketing. People think email marketing is dead. Listen to this, everyone. From a marketing expert, and I hate calling myself an expert, but that's, I've spent the last 15 years in marketing, the degrees in marketing. That's the whole thing I've done my entire business life. Email marketing is not going anywhere. Okay? It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to die. If people have emails, if they still use emails, email marketing is never going to die. Okay? Email marketing is still one of, if not the highest converting channel in almost any business. All right? It's a warm lead. It's a customer that's engaged with you in the past. They're ready to give you their information, so they're ready for you to engage with them. What else do you want? Now, if you want to go buy a cold list, and then come back and say, well, Pierre, my email marketing didn't work. Of course it didn't work. Email marketing is not supposed to be your top of funnel. It's your bottom of funnel. That's where all your conversions happen. All right. And speaking of funnels, let's hop in. Again, get the starter pack, promo code Marketing 101 at checkout. Any plan will give you 30% for 3 months every month. So this isn't a 3-month contract or anything like that. You'll just get 30% every month for 3 months. And you'll get 3 social media templates, link in bio page template, comment autoresponder, website builder template, mailing boss template, and booking builder template. This is the complete marketing starter kit that you need, and you can just hit the ground running, edit those pages, and go live. Okay? Let me skip ahead here. This is the ADA principle. Okay? Jackie, I always talk about this, and I'm going to say it again and again and again. This concept has been around since like the 50s. Okay. Marketing, if you truly understand the foundations, marketing is very easy to understand because it just talks about psychology. All right. Marketing is applied psychology. We use how people function to convince them, to persuade, to make purchases, to make sales, to raise awareness, to do all of those things. Anytime you go to make any decision whatsoever, at the grocery store, if you're looking to buy a car, if you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to buy a chocolate bar, you go through the ADA principle. Awareness, interest, desire, and action. I become aware of your product. I become interested in your product. I desire to purchase your product, and then I purchase your product. Super basic, right? Super simple. I want to think about how people are aware of my product. All right. Sometimes I need to make them aware of the problem itself, right? That's called problem awareness. Once this target audience is aware of my product, I need to make them interested in my product. Go back a few slides. I talked about matching the persona with the problem, right? This is the problem that you have. This is the solution that I have. That's exactly what we're doing here. Once I'm able to say, hey, Jackie, this is your problem. This is the solution for that problem that I've produced. All right. It's worked in the past. These are some case studies. This is an example of it working. Then you are more interested in my product, right? Because everyone wants to solve their problems. No one wants to sit there and say, hey, like this is the problem that I have, but this problem is actually my favorite problem, so I'm not even going to solve it. No one says that. That's a silly thing. Oh, I don't hear you for whatever reason. Oh, no. Oh, no. Jackie. All right. Let me keep going. Just cut in when you have that fixed. Interest is that point where a customer knows about your problem and then they want to solve the problem, right? They want you to help them solve their problem. Desire is that point where they say, okay, how do I get started? This point is actually really interesting because a lot of marketers want to bypass this step. They want to go from awareness, interest, and then they just hit you with a buy now button. Okay. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't. All right. Most of the time it doesn't because you want people to get to the point where mentally they're ready to buy. Okay. If you say, okay, this is your problem. This is my solution. This is how much it costs. And I skip the desire section, then people aren't really motivated to move quickly. Then it's like, then you see the months and months long sales cycles that are really difficult because you haven't built up the desire. When people purchase quickly, they purchase off of an emotional drive. Oops. So you want to have that emotional drive really nurtured. Okay, you want to make them feel like if they don't purchase my problem, then they're making a mistake. All right, and people don't want to make mistakes. So I want you guys to work on fostering a desire. How do you do that? You do that by really proving that this solution that you're offering actually truly works, and it will work for your target audience's problem. All right, once you create that link, then it clicks for people. Then it's like, oh, well, of course I'm going to buy this, right? So, and then finally, action is that final conversion step. You want that to be super easy, super encouraging. You don't want to make people jump through hoops. A lot of times you're going to have marketers that build awareness, build the interest, they create the desire. Oh my God, I can't wait to buy this product. And then they go to purchase and the way to buy is really difficult or really inconvenient, or, they just don't like it. Something about it loses people. What happens here most of the time is they go to your competitor. They don't stick around with you. They just go to a competitor that made it easier for the target audience to buy from them. So what you just did was spend all the time and money and marketing resources and all the effort, and then you gave a sale to your competitor. The only person happy here, the only person unhappy is you, right? Your customer is happy because they think they solved their problem. And your competitor is happy because they just got a customer for free. They didn't even have to talk to them once. They just landed in their inbox ready to buy. So don't do that. Make buying super easy, super direct. If people need to book a call with you, make the booking calendar really easy. Make sure to send a reminder before the day of or before the event that says, hey, remember, we have a meeting in an hour or a meeting in 24 hours, whatever it is. All right, just don't lose the close or the sale just because you didn't know how to convert this desire into action. Okay. And then finally here, we'll mention again, get the starter pack. Marketing 101. Any plan gives you 30% off every month for 3 months. And the starter kit that includes 3 social media templates, link in bio template, comment autoresponder, website builder template, mailing boss template, booking builder template. So many templates, but all of this is designed to get you off the ground. You're going to download it. You're going to have all of these resources. You'll edit the pages and you'll go live and you won't think too much. All right. The enemy of doing is thinking sometimes. We don't want you to just go through and overthink something to death. Is this page good enough? Is my header big enough? Is this picture nice? Sometimes you just need to move, and once you're live, you can make adjustments. Once you're live, you can see how something works, whether or not it works or not, and you can actually test, right? You can build a boat in your basement, but before you actually put it on the water, you'll never know if it's an actual boat or if it's just going to sink, right? So that's my encouragement to everyone here. Wonderful session today, Jackie. I know your mic is giving you problems, but I just want to say wonderful session, so much engagement. And I want to say for this session, a lot of conversation about pricing and that client relationship. I love this topic. I love this conversation. I had what I think was a great track record retaining clients year over year in my agency days. So I always like to have this conversation because it really comes down to the human relationship, right? And that's something that's really hard to manufacture if you're approaching it in a way where you are looking to just make the transaction. It's not going to work for you, right? You want to build the relationship, build the trust, and then the relationship becomes a value-based relationship, and it comes out of a transaction-based relationship. So I'll leave with this. Transactional relationships always fail because there's almost always someone who's ready and willing to do it cheaper or to do it faster or to beat you out on a deal, right? If a deal is the only thing we have to sell, then we're going to be in trouble, right? What we want to sell is the relationship, is the expertise, is the ability. And if you're an agency owner, I want my client to be in business with me, right? With my business, with all of the things that I'm offering. I don't want them to be in business with my turnaround time or my cost, if I'm really cheap, whatever it is, So build that relationship with your clients, talk to them about their business, talk to them, give them recommendations, be friendly, be personable, don't just approach things with with this attitude like you're super rigid. People don't really want to engage with anyone that's rigid, right? So that would be my words of advice. And if anyone has any further questions, let's keep this conversation going. I love what's going on. Come back next month for these marketing 101 sessions. And next month, we are going to have a gigantic event happening for Builderall 8.0. So if you haven't signed up to that event, go ahead, go to builderall.com, register or pre-register to the event right now. I promise you guys, this launch is gonna be amazing. So we're already starting to see so many things come into play. I'm insanely excited, Jackie. I know you are too. So everyone, go to builderall.com, start signing up to the Builderall 8 Beyond event, and we'll see you there. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you later.